Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry we are a little late on this one. So, this is Matt Kershaw from Australia, and we are on opposite ends of the planet. And so, yeah, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are here ready to rock and roll. Apologize for being a little tardy, and we're just going to kick things off. Feel free to hop in with uh, comment if you have questions, whatever it is that you want to learn more about. Here we go. Hello, carnivores, and welcome to session number 24. This week we have a very special guest from Australia. Matt Kershaw is a very good friend of mine, a certified Revero health coach specializing in ancestral nutrition. And when he's not bodybuilding, bouldering, when he's not bouldering, free diving, or calisthenics training, he helps his clients and his community reverse health issues and metabolic disorders, helps clients to live, train, and perform their best by walking in an ancestral way of life. Matt has been featured on Sean Baker's podcast as well as episode 130 of the SuperSetYourLife.com podcast. Matt and I discussed LDL and triglycerides, Alzheimer's disease, and lots of biohacking. Before we kick things off, our podcast review of the week is from Dr. Kevin Statham from Ohio, USA. Great episode, very motivating. And that was on last week's business Q&A with Coach Mark. Thank you, Dr. Statham. If Mark's talking, people are motivated, period. Mr. Kershaw, welcome to Carnivore Coaches Corner. What is new with you lately, mate?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. It's good to come back onto your program. This is Carnivore Coaches Corner?
Carnivore Coaches Corner, not to be confused with the SuperSetYourLife.com podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, pleasure to be here. It is on the other side of the world, so there was a slight issue there getting the time zone right, but we're on now and live, which is fantastic. And I think we got a lot of things to cover today. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. So for those that are unfamiliar with you, what led you to the carnivore diet in the first place?
I think if anyone's on the carnivore diet, it's a bit of a journey. I think for me, it was a long journey over a few years, just trying different things. So a little bit about me. For about 20 years, I didn't exercise at all up until I was 40. So I'm 46 now. Been on a bit of a journey for the last 6 years, but for 20 years, didn't work out. I drank way too much, had a massive sugar addiction. I used to eat a lot of junk, and I know these things they're highly addictive. When you realize it is an addiction and there are health issues, then I think when people have that realization and that the food is causing and the lifestyle choices are causing the issues, that's when we need to make changes. So that's what I realized. I had a bit of a health awakening at 40. I had looked at myself in the mirror, had a bit of a beer gut, skin looked terrible, had bags under my eyes, terrible dandruff. I used to get eczema. Sometimes it would cover up half my body. I'd have these terrible outbreaks. Lack of energy in general. I'd wake up in the morning just feeling really sluggish. Mm-hmm. So I reached that point and I thought, what can I do to change this? Is this a normal way of getting old or not? And I just had this visualization in my head of losing the beer gut and just getting really in shape. And maybe in the first time in my life, I thought, maybe I could actually have some muscle if I work out. So I started to make these small shifts. I didn't add that much more meat at that point, but I did cut out all the junk. I cut out the processed carbs. So I was eating a lot of bread. Breakfast cereals I cut out. I went 400% off sugar, which was a hard thing to do. I still had cravings for probably a couple of years afterwards. But I eliminated sugar. I cut out alcohol, which was a big thing. It really improved my sleep and my energy levels and removed the beer gut. So at that point, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Sorry to interrupt. It's kind of a hot topic and like a popular trend. Just like it seems that letting alcohol go is the thing that most people are working on when it comes to their personal life.
Yeah, it's a big thing. If people can at least drink in moderation or drink just a couple of drinks in the week, if some people still want to drink socially, that's so much better than drinking every day.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you too.
Really messes everything up. Can mess
Yeah.
up your hormones, your sleep, your personal life, all sorts of things.
I used to be a religiously every single night drinker, and not a lot, but every single night. And so when I became carnivore, I just after a while just stopped wanting it.
Exactly
I
right.
could just tell. It just felt toxic. Like I felt relaxed, but I also felt kind of drugged. And so I found other ways to relax myself other than
I'm
taking
exactly the same. If I have a drink or two now on the weekend, I feel okay. But if there's any more than two, I get so tired, and then the next morning I'm just a little bit dazed, and it's not worth it. Because if I'm working out or I have a busy work schedule the next day, it's just not worth it. So it's a good reason to cut right down or cut it out completely. Sugar's the same. You're just in this foggy state, and you just have these urges, these addictions, and you're always thinking about snacking and the next ice cream or cookie or muffin or whatever it might be. It's very, very, it's as you know, like sugar is even more addictive than cocaine and heroin, apparently.
Yeah. Crack cocaine specifically, apparently, is what I heard, is that it's been proven in rat studies.
I don't know how that's measured, but it's been measured.
I don't know if there's a difference. Yeah, we don't recommend either of them on this channel, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
where was I? I had a health awakening. I started to read and listen to podcasts just so much every day. It's just hours of content. And I've done that over the years. That was before I did my Revero health coaching in carnivore and fasting. That was a couple of years ago. So it was 2 years ago. I went, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I went full carnivore. Maybe not 100%, maybe 95. Like occasionally I'll have a bit of fruit, a bit of honey. That's not something I actually need. If I work out and have a bit of fruit, or if I don't notice the differences.
You don't notice
a bit of a treat once a week or something. Actually, I don't feel any difference.
You don't notice any difference? Do you feel you don't feel like your performance is improved? You don't feel like it's less? You don't feel like your sleep is better, worse, even though you're introducing carbs intermittently?
Yeah, if I have some fruit, it's once a week, so it's not noticeable. I think if I was eating fruit every day, that would be more noticeable if it was going to have more of a positive or negative effect.
Yeah.
I do like dairy, I like raw milk, and I find the addition of that just keeps my body weight at an optimal level. Because I find if I'm just 100% only meat, I actually get too lean. It might be my body composition, which is not a bad thing, but I just like just a tiny bit more weight, just even if it's 2 or 3. For me, the measurement's kilograms, so just 2 or 3 more kilograms. So for me now, I'm at that optimal weight. And if I have just a glass of milk every day, that I seem to keep at that weight, and I'm not too ultra lean, if you know what I mean. I like to have just a tiny bit more bulk. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Sorry,
we have a message just come through.
Yeah, I just said sorry, just replying to a comment. Hi, Colton, Matt, smiley face. Thanks for doing this live. You betcha. Okay, question that I have for you, sir. I'm just dying to know what your perspective is on this, because this is another hot topic lately. Raw meat versus cooked meat. So I've been hooked on it and see nothing but benefits in terms of health, body composition, sleep quality, satiety. What are your general thoughts about humans consuming raw meat?
That's a really interesting question. I think our bodies are designed to eat both. We spent early part of our evolution eating raw meat. That would have been 2 million years of evolution. I mean, that's a long time. And humans have changed. I guess we've changed a bit over the last couple of million years, but going back 2 million years ago, it's not, I think biologically, there aren't that many huge differences. And with our digestive system, it hasn't changed that much either. So we can tolerate and thrive off raw meat and also cooked meat. And there are differences, I think, between raw and cooked in terms of nutrients and protein.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get more nutrients from raw meat, but cooking it will unlock more protein or make it even more bioavailable.
Okay. Specifically, taurine, from what I understand, is more bioavailable in raw meat than in cooked meat. And so I'm wondering if, as an athlete that, tends to overtrain more so than undertrain, maybe that's why my body's craving it a bit more than cooked meats, because it's like, hey, let's get the most nutrients that we can out of this.
Yes, I think that's right. Yeah, we have to listen to our bodies, and if we're craving something, there might be something in it that our bodies generally need, and that's called intuitive eating, isn't it? You just go with how you feel.
Yeah, we were just talking before we hit the record button about how this is like the hardest way of living to teach, but it's also the easiest way, because it's the hardest way in the way that a lot of what we talk about and what we do is intangible. It's like, okay, from you to get from point A to point B with your health, from where you are to where you want to be, that might be a macro number, that might be a change, the amount of food that you're eating or the type of food that you're eating. But we need to take a step back and go, okay, what's your sleep quality like? If there's anything more important than your nutrition, that's probably it. How's your stress levels throughout the day? Like, what do you do for work? How much time are you spending on your phone? Are you, are you making sure that you get grounded every day? Like, all these things add up, and they play a big part hormonally into the food that you're actually taking in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. I see food as one of the main foundations to good health. But there's all these other factors that stack up on top of that. Like you mentioned a few there. I think getting out and getting some sun, that would be one of the foundational ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
Getting enough vitamin D, that's really going to help balance hormone levels. And it's going to help you absorb some of the things that you're eating from the food. There's some of the vitamins and minerals. So yeah, you can see that health is, yes, there's a spectrum, and it's the buzzwords holistic. So I think we need to look at setting up the foundations. That's main. I'd say the primary one is food. Another one's getting enough sun, working out, exercising, actually moving and using your body how it's been designed. I'd say those three are the core foundations to good health. And then we have all those other ones. There's other ones that you mentioned on top of that. I don't think, for most people, they think it's hard, but if they see it in that way, it's not that hard at all.
100%. May I pull your opinion on how this lady should address her blood levels, her LDL levels, her high LDL levels, to her doctor?
Sure. That's I think you sent that to me, so I have it here. That's
Yep.
her blood work and the readings for cholesterol.
That's right.
Yep.
Just like, what should she say to her doctor? She's got 170 mg to DL of LDL, and then non-LDL cholesterol, calculated HDL cholesterol. It's all pretty high.
Right. So yeah, just looking at this, we can start with the cholesterol levels, 284. If she went to a doctor, they would say that's way above what it should be. It's too high, and it's in a danger level, and she would probably be prescribed statins based on that level, and then her LDL. So
yep.
Total cholesterol, a lot of GPs, they say if it's less than 200, that is in the good range. So hers is 284. So of course they'll go, that's a red flag. That's not good at all. But we'll come back to that in a moment, because we need to look at all the other factors that go into the reading. Her LDL, which is apparently the bad cholesterol, and we can go into that in more detail soon, is 176. Doctors would say it needs to be less than 100. HDL cholesterol, hers is 94. Ideally, it needs to be 60 or higher according to mainstream health advice. So it's in a good range. And triglycerides is another marker. So that's the fat in the blood. Hers is 69. A good level is less than 149. So that's her triglycerides are great. So if we look at all those things on the whole, we need to look at, which you can ignore the bad LDL cholesterol for now. HDL cholesterol is good, it's high, but triglycerides is a really good marker of health. So if we're comparing LDL cholesterol, which is high, with triglycerides, which is low, it's all within a really healthy range. It would be an issue if the triglycerides were high and HDL levels were low. There's some really good markers of an underlying issue or perhaps heart disease. So all these different factors need to be read together. It's all part of the same system. Yeah. We can't just look at LDL and go, oh, that's high, here's some statins. It doesn't work in that way.
Right.
Yeah. So that's all within a very well-balanced, metabolically healthy, ideal healthy range. And if I looked at that, I'd go, that's great. What are you doing? Give me some of that. What is it?
Exactly. Yeah. She eats pretty much nothing but ribeyes every day. She's trying to become a women's physique competitor, and she looks great. She has an absolutely wonderful physique. And same thing. We were talking before we started recording. We have another guy. Same thing. Hey, here's my LDL. Here's my blood work. What do you think, doctor? Hey, you should get on statins. Okay. I'm also in my 30s, and here's a picture of me. I mean, this dude looks like what every guy wants to look like, right? And so the doctor's got to be receiving it on the other end, just going, "Whoa, I just told this dude that he needs to get on statins." Like that, you might want to double check those numbers or something.
I wonder what the doctor's thinking though, if they're sitting there and they've got a big gut, and they're looking at a picture of someone who's in peak human physical form, and they're going, maybe they're right. What are they doing that's really working for them? I think people need to question these things. If someone's obviously in peak form and they may be 30, 40, 50, and you see so many cases of people in their 50s and 60s and they're in peak form, they look great. Like, you just have to step back and think for a moment, what are they doing? What are they doing that's where they can look like that and they have constant energy and they can lift that much weight? Like, there's got to be something to it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I think people need to be asking more questions like, what are they doing? It's not just the exercise, it's what they're putting into their body, what they're not putting in their body. Yeah. Just daily activity outside the gym, getting enough sun. More people need to be questioning these things and questioning the old, outdated science behind reading things like cholesterol.
Look at the entire picture, not just one marker. And be
not just
more
one
concerned
market,
about someone's health, not just selling a drug. I didn't say that out loud. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Health is not really. Yeah, exactly. Health is not just looking at one marker and then prescribing medication. We need to look at the full picture, and we need to do the readings in the right way.
Hey, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. What else have you been up to lately, man? Like, what have you been doing?
Yeah, I had a bit of time off. I was off social media, which it's great to go through a social media detox. And
right, I bet that felt absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I was over in Bali in Indonesia with a couple of friends. We a couple of spearfishing and freediving friends. So I've got a bouldering climbing background. That's how I keep fit. So think of it like a great full body workout, but also when it's warmer in the summer, I like to get in the water. So I do breath hold free diving. I get down to 20, 25 meters in one breath. So I went to Bali, took that skill set. I've been free diving for years, took that. And then I had a go at spearfishing, which is basically you take a spear gun and you go deep down, and then you hunt fish underwater. That's what it is. Which
Wow.
was a fantastic experience. It was my first time. Took me a while to understand how to load the spear gun under the water. But once I worked that out, I already had the skill set for freediving. So I went down, and it's such a great experience to hunt, but to hunt in the water and to read the fish's movements and to try to get a big fish, because they're smart. Like, they will feel the way you're moving in the water, and they feel your energy. They take off. You know, you got to outsmart them.
Have you ever been deer hunting? Because I'm just thinking, like, man, like that sounds like a blast, but I get major buck fever when I deer hunt, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, just the like even though I'm a carnivore and I eat meat every day, yeah, man. Like, I say that and I sound tough when I'm in my office, but man, when it comes to actually killing another animal, like, I don't know what it is, dude. I just get really nervous. Like, do you ever have that happen when you're trying to shoot a fish?
I don't know. Maybe fish are different. I guess the best way for the fish and for us is it's got to be a kill shot, like straight through the head.
Okay, so similar ethics then, yeah.
Yeah, similar ethics. You just want to just go for the quick kill. But also, I found if I speared it anywhere else, not the head, you get a lot of your fish, especially if the fish are big. They got a bit of a pull. They thrash around. And when you're 20 meters down trying to pull a big fish up and it's thrashing around, you feel it, because you got to kick up and pull it up. And I had that a couple of times. I remember my very first spear when I got a fish and I was pulling it up. I was like, that's got a bit of a pull. Like, if I didn't have strong legs and a good kick, that would be a bit of a struggle, you know?
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And I have heard of people spearing and they get massive fish and they get pulled down. It's in that situation, just let go of the spear gun. It's got a float on it. It will come up most of the time. But if you're in a difficult situation like that, just let go and just come up. Just let the fish go. Don't need to be a hero.
Right on.
Yeah.
Especially some of the bigger fish, like, isn't a lot of nutrients in the head, like eyes, brains,
Oh yeah,
like a lot of nutrients that you want. So I mean,
eat the
it's half
nose to
so
tail.
it's half of you just like, all right, I want to shoot this through the head, but is the other half of you like, all right, well, I mean, as long as we put it out of its misery, let's save the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Apply nose to tail to anything. I think when it comes to fish, we caught, I think one day we got 5 each, and we had the biggest cook up. We had a bit of sashimi, and then we had fish cooked in different ways. But I ate the whole fish. I went for the eyes, everything.
What do the eyes taste like? I don't think I've ever had fish eyes before.
A little bit gooey. But when they cook, they're still, a little bit gooey. It's interesting, but it's because they cooked. You just think of it like just another part of the fish. Like a lot of people might get turned off by the eyes. They don't really look like eyes when they're cooked. You just eat them. It's more of a perception or a mindset, because there's so many different cultures that will eat nose to tail and they eat the eyes of the fish, and they'll say that is one of the best parts to eat. So it's just a perception that we have in our modern society, Western sort of perception on parts of animals that we should and shouldn't eat.
Yeah, because there seems to be a crowd that's like, you don't need any organs. All you need is muscle meats. All you need is raw muscle tissues, and they have all this science that backs it up. And then you have this other crowd that's like, no, you should be eating nose to tail. You should be eating all the organ meats. And then they have all this science to prove that. And here I am kind of going back and forth in the middle. And I'm like, I don't know, I'll go a month of having just muscle tissue, and so I'll stick to like mainly ribeyes. I wish chuck steaks are the poor man's ribeyes over here, but they're like basically the same macros.
I go for that too sometimes. So it's great in a slow cooker.
I mean, I love chuck steaks, dude. Like,
yeah, they're great.
The fattier the better. They're so bomb.
Yeah, I find if people
so I'll do that and I'll add them in. And so I'm just kind of curious.
I find like it sort of touches on the subject of how to make this way of eating affordable. And I think eating some organ meats as well, it's going to make it more affordable. I can buy like a massive ox or cow's heart, and it's next to nothing compared to a ribeye steak. I think of that as some backup food. I'll just leave it in the freezer and just take it out when I need it. But the things like heart, you got liver, kidneys, they're packed full of nutrients, even more than meat. And you're going to cover, they've got a different nutrient profile to just regular ribeye or meat, you know? So I think if you add some organ meats here and there, it doesn't hurt at all. You're just getting a nutrient packet and you're covering some nutrient bases that are not that high in regular muscle meat.
Mm-hmm. But they're like hit and miss. It's like you can't have too much liver, otherwise you'll overdose on vitamin A. You can't have too much of one organ because it has too much of that. But muscle tissue seems to be. I mean, it makes sense. We're made up mostly of muscle tissue, so it makes sense.
And you can eat as much muscle meat as you can, I guess, until you feel satiated and full. There's no way to overdose on meat, is there?
Right.
Something like liver, you'd have to eat a lot of liver though to get that vitamin A toxicity. I know there's a lot of people talking about that it can be dangerous, but you'd have to eat a lot. I mean, if you're Liver King and you're eating a liver about this big every day, I don't think he does. I think he just does that for the camera. But if you did eat that much liver, it would be a problem. Yeah. But you'd have to eat a lot. So I think if you add a little bit once a week, once a month, it's not going to do any harm. And that could be, it could be just a few grams. It's not going to do any harm at all. So I think people shouldn't fear it if they're just adding it on occasion.
I had a lamb liver. And I did that all raw. And to be honest, I think it was too much. It was a lot bigger of a liver than I thought it would be. And the heart was really small that we got from the butcher. If I had to put the two together, man, I would say the heart was better. Just like slice it up like raw sashimi. And then the liver also too. The flavor was so good, but I kind of messed it up. Like I should have cut it into a bunch of smaller pieces and like spread it out or something, because I think it was just too much for one day. I felt weird the next day.
How did you eat it? Did you just pick it up and just snort into it? Or how did you do it?
Oh yeah, just like with a fork, man.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've gotten kind of late. I've gotten kind of lazy since starting the carnivore diet, man. That's what Richard Smith in the UK. Last time I was talking with him, we were joking about how like it's just what you fall into out of laziness. It's like, man, like
it's so easy to prepare and cook, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing to it. Like it's just meat and salt, and the less you cook it, the better. And so just don't put any thought into it and just eat till satiety. And your whole view on food just changes after a while. You're looking to eat what you know is going to optimize you and what's going to satiate you and nourish you, and not give you that dopamine, serotonin hit that you get when you just put too many, even too many natural ingredients with it. It's like, oh, ask her, she knows like the best natural recipes. Yeah, but it's still like 30 ingredients. Like that's asking your digestive system to do a lot. You know, cut all that out and just stick to meat and salt, and man, it relaxes your digestive system. You're in a, not like a semi-fasted state all day, but fasting, it's the same way, right? Why does fasting work so good? Why do you have so much energy? Because you're not digesting food for a long time, and that's taxing on your body.
That's right. That's right.
You can be on your digestive system, the better you're off.
Sure. Yeah. If I just eat, I could eat meat and then 45 minutes I could work out. My body still might be digesting some of that, but I feel fine. But I know if I have rice or pasta, I did eat pasta about a week ago. That was a big mistake. It was a treat, and I was sharing food with other people, and that I was knocked out. I had to nap.
Wow.
I napped for an hour. I was just like, "What's wrong?" I was thinking, "That's a pasta. I'm just out of it."
Yeah.
And your body, it's harder to
that's why I don't do it. It's like I just know it's never worth it.
It's not worth it. And your body's working harder to digest, especially more processed food. And I think pasta's it's more on the processed end.
Yeah.
But for food.
So, on that note, on the carbohydrate note, if we could please take a deep dive into or a little dive into another topic, another hot topic, carbohydrates, specifically Paul Saladino's view, where you can where there's apparently science that clearly shows that it improves your testosterone, that improves your athletic performance as an athlete. that I'm just not noticing these benefits. That my results personally have just been all the complete opposite of this. I'm a bodybuilding coach. I'm not a scientist, but I'm certainly not aware of any science that backs this up. And I'm just kind of curious as to what your thoughts are on whether anybody should incorporate carbs, and if they and if it's a matter of should they, or can they just tolerate it, or would it actually benefit them? I'm just kind of curious as to what your thoughts are on that.
It's such an interesting topic, and there's so much debate in the community on carbs and how much we should eat, or if we should not eat them at all. So yeah, really interesting topic. If we just break it down with looking at our population that's in the US and Australia, it's around 93% of the population are unhealthy. They're metabolically unhealthy. They have some issue going on. Even if it's low-grade inflammation, they would be in that bracket of being unhealthy. In that situation, our bodies are not going to tolerate high levels of carbs. I think that our bodies, when they're with the blood glucose spikes during the day, if we're adding any sort of carbs, if that's sustained, if we're having, say, breakfast cereal in the morning and then white bread for lunch and then pasta for dinner, our bodies are under that stress. We got those blood glucose spikes all through the day. So it's going to put our body under stress. It's going to lead to inflammation. Our hormones will start to be out of whack, especially if that's ongoing for years. And that's most of the population. That eat that standard diet and they have high levels of carbs because they think that's healthy, or maybe that's what they've been taught is healthy through just the basic food pyramid of having 5 or 6 servings of grains per day. But what if that's wrong? What if having all those carbs is causing all the health issues that we see today? Carbs and then all the processed food with chemicals and preservatives and all those things on top of that. But at the core of it, people shouldn't be eating high levels of processed carbs. If we're looking at the other 7% of the population that are metabolically healthy, they can tolerate carbs, but I would say not high levels of carbs. Our bodies are not designed to incorporate and process and digest high levels of carbs. If you think going back millions of years, vegetables, if there were like some roots or things that we found, they would have been a backup food. The primary food would have been meat, but if we weren't successful on a hunt, there might have been berries, but that would have been some parts of the year when they're in season, only for a couple of weeks. And then a starvation backup food would have been some roots and tubers. So through our evolution, we weren't eating high levels of carbs. Our bodies are not designed to tolerate high levels. Again, coming back to people that are metabolically healthy, that 7%, we can tolerate some, but not high levels of carbs. Someone like Paul Saladino, I think he can get away with it because he's highly, highly active. He surfs, he works out, he does lots of calisthenics. He does that through the day. So he's burning through that glucose. And then he's adding more carbs back in, and he's putting his stores are being replenished. But I think for the average person, if you're having that, say 200 or 300 grams of carbs, they have to go somewhere, don't they? If you're not burning through them, they're going to be converted to fat. It's going to be stored in your body as fat. So yeah, overall, I would say if you're metabolically healthy, if you're in that 7% bracket, if you think it's going to help your performance, like why not just add some? If it's 20, 30, 40 grams, it's not a high amount. See how you go. That could be a piece of fruit. We've got some carbs in milk, raw milk, and dairy. If you maybe have some berries, if you feel like you want to add some, go ahead, see how you feel. I think having 30 or 40 grams per day is not that much. But if it's in the 200 to 300 gram sort of range, that's huge. And if you're not burning through it, where does it go?
Exactly.
It's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Basically to summarize is, I guess my whole perspective in response to it too is is really from the same angle, which is just, are you trying to see what you can get away with, or are you really trying to see what's optimal? If you're trying to see what's optimal, I mean, I have not this since I've been fat adapted, and since I've been carnivore for the last couple of years now, and been strict carnivore for the last 6-9 months. I'm seeing whenever I do add carbs in, I'm seeing absolutely no benefit to it whatsoever, and it's just nothing but downsides anymore. But again, I'm stepping back and looking at the big picture too. It's like, let's just give it the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, yeah, you ingest 50 grams of carbs in the form of anything. I don't know, sugar, fruit, whatever. And let's say that even if it does give you some sort of an athletic benefit, what does it do to your mental clarity? What does it do to your sleep? What does it do to the rest of your health markers? Let's not look at just one metric here again, just like we were talking about before.
Sure. I think if anyone wants to try it, try and just really pay attention to how your body feels, especially during a workout.
Yeah.
And if you don't see any benefits, then what's the point of adding it? Because your body can, if you're having fats and protein, that they're the essential nutrients, aren't they? That's all your body needs.
Mm-hmm. And to be
your
completely
body
honest,
can be fat adapted, and like, for example, I can work out for 2 hours, and if I just eat meat, I can go 2 hours, I don't get tired, and I wake up the next morning, I'm not sore.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that just being strict carnivore for a while, I'd wake up in the morning and feel rejuvenated and not sore. But I remember when I was adding, this was years ago, and I was eating a lot of vegetables and kale and things like that.
Oh man, I went through the kale
I would wake
phase
up in the
too.
morning, I'd be so tired and sore. And all of
like,
that.
and you're so proud of yourself after you finish you finish that kale shake too, because like you're not gonna eat it, like you got to blend that up so that your body like can do something with it.
It's not a real food.
No.
Our ancestors didn't have blenders out in the desert or jungles, did they?
Yeah, I don't think there were a lot of people eating kale back then.
And I used to feel good if I was sore. I'd wake up like, oh, that was a good workout, and I wouldn't be able to move my arms, and my chest was so sore and tight. But like, yeah, that's great. Like, I'm building muscle now. But now
I used to do that too. I used to put them in my post-workout shakes. This was right after, this is like before bodybuilding, before I knew really anything about nutrition. I was just listening to what they said on bodybuilding.com and stuff, and so my post-workout shakes was like a protein shake and then a whole bunch of fruit blended up into it, and then like a banana, and then like I was adding dextrose into it because that's supposed to spike your insulin even higher. And so like that was some milk, and then and then I would throw my greens in there too. I'm like, whatever, there's so much other flavor, like I can't even taste it. And I was doing that until I started learning bodybuilding, until I started learning a thing or two about nutrition
and eating real food. Like I've never seen the point to protein powders unless people don't have access to meat.
No, I sell protein powder on my website, and I just try to talk people out of it. I'm a terrible protein powder salesman, bro. I'm like, no, like you should just you don't need protein powder, man.
There are people out there. Like I had a chat with someone online, wasn't a client, but he was in the Philippines. He said he doesn't have access to high quality meat, and if it's meat, it's chicken. There's not that much around, and it's expensive. I said, well, in that situation, you might consider protein powder, but generally, if we have access to meat, it's fairly cheap and it's plentiful everywhere. Just eat meat; it's full of protein. You get a nutrient packet on top of that as well.
Yeah, and then if you're the more that you're actually giving your body the nutrients that it needs, then the less ingredients you end up cooking with to begin with. And so, like, yeah, here again, look at the big picture. Ground beef costs this much per pound. Okay. And then a plant-based diet costs, I don't know, I've never been on a plant-based diet, never care to. And so are you comparing things at face value, or again, are you looking at the big picture? Okay, how much goes to waste if you're on a plant-based diet? Probably a lot. I don't know. Or even or any other diet, like particularly a standard American diet. Like most people go to the grocery store and they buy and they buy, oh, this looks good, that looks good, that looks good, and we'll see what the family likes. Okay. That versus a primal way of eating is you're going to use everything that you have. It's the only ingredients that you really have.
100%.
It's really simple. You get really in tune with with what everybody's eating in the household. It's not just me. It's my wife. It's my family. This is what we do. It's our lifestyle.
Sure. I remember back in the days when I had a fridge packed full of vegetables, kale and spinach and broccoli and you name it, had everything.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff used to go to waste. I couldn't get through it all. Same as fruit. I used to over purchase and have a huge bowl full of fruit. Used to look great. And I'd snack on that here and there. This is, going back 5-6 years.
Yeah, man, we grew up in
a waste too. It's like a waste of food. With meat, if I buy too much, I just chuck it in the freezer. I eat everything. None of it goes to waste. Even like the crappiest bit of fat, it's not really edible. I'd eat it. I'm gonna eat everything.
Yep. What do you do for your fats? That's kind of the tricky part as a carnivore, especially as a composition coach. And I know that
Sure.
I don't think you probably don't get like the athletically like composition minded clients the way that I do. Most people come to me like after they've already fixed their autoimmune issues and everything. And it's like, okay, now let's get into some shape and see what we can like. I want to do a show or whatever. But what have you? I'm sorry, where was I going with that?
Fats.
Oh yeah. So fat and protein ratios, super important for like my day-to-day work, right? So
sure. So if you have clients, what sort of ratios you're looking at?
Well,
ideally for them.
So adding protein is always adding fats is always kind of the tricky part to the puzzle. So let's just say, for example, that this lady named Sarah says, hey, I weigh 150 pounds and I want to get to 130 pounds and I'm tracking my macros right now and I'm eating 200 grams of carbs, 130 grams of protein, and like 80 grams of fat. So without even caring about what the calories are, first thing that I'm going to do is figure out where their lean body mass is at. So her lean body mass is probably like around 115, 120 grams. So her fats, I always want them to be higher, for sure. Want them to be higher. And so if her goal is to cut, I'm probably going to start her off at even lower protein than that, just temporarily, quite a bit of a higher amount of fat. So probably like anywhere from 170 to 180, depending on like what the rest of her day looks like. And then from there, bring the ratios together and see when she gets out of ketosis, because she'll be in ketosis for sure. It might take a couple days, it might take a couple weeks. It's different every time. Yeah. But we'll start with those macros, and then I'll push the protein envelope and bring the fat down and just trade them gram for gram. Again, like completely putting calories out the window. Nothing screws us up faster than when you throw calories into it. So if you just look at the grams and that's it, then bring the grams as close as you can to each other so that the proteins is as high as that you can get it without knocking them out of ketosis. Once you figure out what that is, that's their protein threshold. And so then we titrate down together until they get to a point to where they're either shredded and like ready for their show, or they get to a point, because like here again, most people for me are more performance minded than, we're performance and health minded, but all capital L's on the performance minded. So that's usually where I would go with it. So anyway, sorry, long roundabout way of basically saying that the goal and the missing puzzle piece is always to add fats in. And I think it's because I work with so many athletes that everybody just has high expenditures, and the normal day-to-day carnivore people, they're just like, hey, I just want to lose 10 pounds and just feel better. And I don't really care about my muscle mass or what I look like on stage or anything. Those are kind of the people that it just seems like our fats always need to be higher, especially to be in ketosis. So like for me, like I'm savage. I don't really care. I'm just like a do it and get it done kind of guy. So like I just eat pretty much nothing but butter for my fats. If I'm eating fatty meat, I have put a little bit of butter on it. If I'm eating really lean meat, I put a giant piece of butter on it. That's about as much thought as I put into it right now.
You're covering in a basic way. You're covering your bases.
Yeah.
I think with fat, I can come down to people's preferences too. Butter's fantastic. We've got tallow. There's ghee. There's lard. There's so many different types of fats that we can cook in. I think it's always good to add a lot more if you have a lean cut of meat. So you cook in a lot more butter than usual, like you mentioned. Yeah. But there's a lot of meat as well that has very high fat content. So for me, I'll buy a range. I have some lean meat, but usually I go for the fatty cuts. Like I love them. Beef ribs, really fatty. You got ground beef. Even
I think most
organic
people would agree
meat.
with you if they get honest with themselves, but most people just they just can't stomach the fact of fat because we've been conditioned so long
Yes,
that it's bad
yes,
for you. Just we've been told our entire lives it's bad for you, and we're like, you know what? No, I can't eat that part of the steak. No, dude, that's the part of the steak that your body really needs. Eat it, enjoy it with
yes.
a
It
smile on your
is.
face. It's not that hard, man. It's freaking good. You kidding me?
It's
It's way
such
better
a
than a
deep.
Snickers bar.
Yeah, it's such a deep conditioning, isn't it? To
Yeah.
cut the fat off a steak, to not eat any fat at all. Like I used to be repulsed by it when I was even 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would cut the fat off everything until I spent some time. I lived in Vietnam for a few years, and people ate really, really fatty cuts of pork. And I used to cut the fat off, and I had locals say, "What are you doing? That's the best part."
Yeah.
Like, really? And then I started to listen to them like, they're onto something. If this is a a national dish and they've been eating it for thousands of years and they say it's good, maybe it is. And maybe we're conditioned. After a while, I thought we're conditioned to think that fat's bad. Never had any issues eating that fat. And then after that, I just had cravings for fat. I
Mm-hmm.
think once you start, and you get over that conditioning and you sort of reverse that, and you realize fat is actually the opposite. It's good. It's delicious.
Yeah. And here
Yeah.
again, I'm not a Bible scholar or a historian by any means, but I'm pretty sure that most of the time that the word fat is used throughout the Bible, it's like the most precious part of it. Like it refers to the choice cuts or the actual
Mm.
best part of the meat. And it's always a fatted calf that they slaughter, never a skinny calf.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you just survive off lean protein, sorry, just get some water. Yeah, if you're surviving off lean protein, you've heard of rabbit starvation. If you just survive off rabbits with no fat, you could probably die from that. You need some fats.
Yeah.
And the ideal source is animal fats. You can't, some people do well on a keto diet with a lot of avocados, but just think, well, yeah, you got to eat a lot of avocados and you got to eat a lot of fatty type vegetables to get enough fats in your diet. With animal fats, they're very filling, very satiating, and they really help transport nutrients through your body too. You're getting a whole great packet if you have a fatty cut of meat. You get the
Right.
fats, you get the protein, you get nutrients, and the fat's going to help the nutrients
Yeah.
be transported around your body. So again, eat meat, easy.
Here we go again. You take that's a nice glass of wine you got there. Just the color it looked like wine that threw me for a loop. But here again, as carnivores, we always got to take a step back and look at the entire picture too. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, if you have a larger volume of food, but it's a plant-based fat, aka an avocado, versus a smaller volume of food, which is like butter or tallow, for example, you, regardless of how you feel after a minute, give it a couple hours, you're going to be hungry if you had an avocado a couple hours ago. My experience, because dude, like everything I do is clockwork, man. Like I'm my own lab rat. I'm my own lab rat. Every single day, I'm noticing differences in
Awesome.
what I throw in, because I'm basically eating nothing but red meat right now. I'm on the lion diet, and I'm actually pretty strict with it. I even went so far as to cut keto bricks out just temporarily so that I could troubleshoot like one food at a time and see like exactly how I feel the next day. If I'm still in ketosis, like what that does to my sleep. I'm not wearing it right now, but I'm wearing an Oura ring so that I can get as detailed as I can with that. And I mean, even if someone's eating here again more fat or more energy from a piece of butter than they are an avocado, I'm putting my money on the guy that's eating the butter to have better digestion and better health and better adherence and like actually be on his diet 4 weeks from now than the person that is that's a very extreme example. I mean, we're splitting hairs right now, but
We are.
here again, all these little things and all these little practices add up. And just because something says that it's 14 grams of fat on paper, man, that goes into your head, and then it's like it makes it hard to eat like actually really good nutrient dense food that your body needs in the first place. And if you would just eat to satiety and eat to what your body needs and just be done with it and not worry about the numbers on the paper, I think that that's a healthier, more sustainable approach long term.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, again, it comes back to perception and what we've been taught from early childhood onwards, especially if we grew up in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, even, that fat is bad and eating fat makes you fat. There's so much information now, like especially the last 4 or 5 years with keto and now carnivore, which I see is like more of an extreme end of keto, zero carb. Yeah, which is it's just
I'm with you there too. That's kind of the joke here. It's like, man, my dog is a carnivore, and she's more relaxed on this diet than I am. You know, it's like,
right,
she'll eat a piece of grass or like, you know, freaking food that the kids drop off of the table. It's like I don't know, a piece of a sandwich or something, and we keep the carbs into a minimum in this household overall. You know, nobody's just like strict nothing but red meat like I am. But
I think if someone's looking to lose weight, if they can just switch that idea in their head that fat isn't bad, it's not going to make them fat, that eating fat can help you burn fat.
Yeah.
And get into that fat burning mode.
Yep.
If they just switch that in their head, I mean, think of how many people are obese in our society, and if they just got onto eating more fat in their diet, if it's an avocado, like great place to start. Eventually, hopefully, they end up with eating more animal fats too. Some people got to start somewhere, right? So, but if they're eating more fat in their diet and they're in that state of ketosis, I mean, that's just a sort of easy magic formula to weight loss.
Yep.
I've worked with clients that lose 5 or 6 kilograms in 1 week just because they've lost that water weight. They've in that state of ketosis. Once they've hit that water weight just comes off so quickly within a matter of days.
Yep. Comes right off. And here again, we got to step back and look at the big picture too. Like realistically, if somebody says, "Hey, I'm considering putting avocado in my diet," man, that's like the last person that I have to worry about. That's the kind of person that you know that is on there. Like that's a good question to get. Like
it's like that's a good start. Give it a few more months or a year, and maybe that'll evolve into something else. You'll be eating more animal fats.
Right.
Yeah, it's a start. At least they're not eating, consuming seed oils and processed garbage, sugar.
Yeah, like you're better than 99%.
Just got to get off that to start with. Yeah. They're the killers. They're the killers. Processed carbs, sugar, seed oils. If people can eliminate them, they're doing better than most of the population.
Everything else just kind of eventually falls into place into that. Like your body gets real smart and figures it out.
Sure. And people just need to be open to learning. And we're living in such a great time. We have access to so much information about these types of things.
Yep.
Growing up, I didn't have access to all these podcasts and books, and this information wasn't around. Like if someone's growing up now or they're looking to reverse some health issues, there's so much information they can look up. A lot of it's going to be a contradiction, but if they find a path where it's maybe keto to start with, or they just go straight into animal-based or carnivore, fantastic. There's just so much information on YouTube and podcasts and books.
There is, and you just have to fact check it. And how do you do that? You're your own lab rat. If it's working for you, great. Look at your blood results. Ask your doctor. And at the end of the day, we're all different, and so what works on paper for one person might always not work for someone else, and you don't always find the answer right away. Sometimes it takes you a while to figure it out.
Sure. Our body's a barometer. Just listen to it. If you feel like you've got a lot of energy, you're sleeping better, you don't need to snack during the day, you're not getting these binges and urges to eat sugar and carbs, that's great. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yep, absolutely. What's the hottest project that you have been working on?
Hottest project? I don't think I have a hot project at the moment. I think when it just comes to I know exactly what I'm doing when it comes to eating, but when it comes to working out, I always like to explore.
Yeah.
That new one that I mentioned was getting into spearfishing, underwater hunting.
Yep,
But
yep.
when it comes to climbing, that's my main thing. Like I really enjoy, it's like an intellectual challenge when I do that too, because you got to work out the best way to get up the wall. And there's one way that's highly efficient and effective compared to any other way. And a lot of the time you need to try the wall 10, 20, 30 times until you get it right. So it's all about getting your body to move in the most efficient way. There's lots of, you got to pay attention to your body weight and where your legs and arms are positioned, because a lot of the time you have to stretch your body out and you have to balance yourself in a way where everything's going to hold, you're not going to slip, but also you're not putting so much strain on your muscles, because you don't want to tank out and burn out. And sometimes to get to the top, it's going to take a while. It's a lot of effort. So it's always like a project to me. I'm always learning new things to get to the top in the most effective way without burning out before I get to the top.
Yeah.
And I enjoy doing that, because if I climb, if I'm in the mood and I'm loving it, I'll go for 2.5 hours without much rest. I'll climb, I'll rest for 1 or 2 minutes, and then get on and do another climb. And that's just continual for 2.5 hours. I feel great. That's my ongoing life project on top of spearfishing.
Not to put you on the spot on recording or anything, but man, in like 3 months or 6 months or something, can I reach out to you and say, hey, let's have a talk on mindset. How do you get to the top? What do you do when you how do you keep yourself going when you feel like quitting? Can we have that conversation on the Super
Let's do that.
Show?
I mean, we can all relate to that, right? Where life's full of ups and downs, but to maintain that positive mindset and try to be in peak performance all the time, I think that's a challenge. That's a great topic.
Yeah. Where can our listeners go to reach out to you? I know that you do one-on-one consultations, right?
I do. So everyone can find me on Insta at prima.ancestral. So it's prima.ancestral. And there's a link in my bio if people want to book themselves in. I do free 15-minute initials, and then afterwards we can book in for a 1 hour more detailed consultation. So that can be booked in online. And as your listeners are aware, I'm in Western Australia. We just need to work out the time zone differences if I do have a session with someone. And that's easy to do. I've had clients in the US before. I had a couple of different clients in California recently. We just worked out the time zone and that was fine. So we can do that online. And there are a couple of other things that I'm selling through my page as well. I've just added some beef tallow for things that people can purchase.
I was gonna say it better not be protein powder, because we just kind of blew that out of the water a while ago.
I just received a batch because I make my own, but I just run out. So
do you use it?
It's great to have this great, like it's delicious. It's good to have backup. So
do you use it for skincare as well, or just for consumption?
For cooking, that's actually I do want to make my own tallow balm or moisturizer. Not for me. I know a couple of people that have been asking for it, so I might have a go at making that. It doesn't seem to be too hard.
Yeah, we got a local friend that makes it, and it's great. Yeah, man. Like it's my hair gel, it's my face lotion, man. My skin has just been getting better ever since I use it, and I'm pretty sure the only ingredient is tallow, and I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 other things, but
yeah,
my damn dog won't stop licking my face, though. That's the only downside.
I should try it. Like I'll make it and use it too, because now it's getting warmer in Western Australia. It's I'm at the beach a lot too. I get a lot of sun. I think it'd be great for dry skin if I'm getting a lot of salt and sun, and there's not much hair here. It can dry out too. So
yeah, I was gonna
say just cover everything.
If you're bald, you definitely I don't recommend it as hair gel. You'll want your money back for sure.
I need, maybe I can just massage my scalp. My bald head.
Because it was morning for you when we were about to record, and I felt so bad because double check your times, everybody. We were a couple hours off, and so sorry again about being late on this one, but I was like, man, like I would have a bad hair day and just oh no, I mean no problem here. Okay, great. But
we got the time a little bit mixed up. It was an hour out. I thought I was going to be on an hour later than what I should have been. So it was about just before 7. I was just getting out of bed, check my messages, and you said, Matt, you ready to get on in half an hour? I was thinking, half an hour or an hour and a half?
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe I should get ready. We're going to start early. So then we started at 7:30 my time, not 8:30. That was completely fine. I was fine to go.
Oh, God bless you for that, man. Yeah, because
straight into it.
Because I just called my wife and I was like, "Hey, babe, we're gonna be starting a bit later because she's out of the house with the kids, which is why it's quiet. So they'll be back in a minute." But
okay.
But she was like, but I was like, "Babe, what would happen if you asked me in the morning, hey, I need, hey, excuse me, what would my reaction be if you said, hey, you have a meeting starting right now?" I would be like, "No, I don't. I don't care what kind of a meeting it is. It can wait about 2 hours. I'll be ready to talk to anybody then. But until then, yeah." No,
yeah, I was like, I should at least put a shirt on and wash my face. I'm ready to go.
No, you're too kind. Thanks for asking our questions, man. Thanks for just here again helping me understand some of these things in a way that this isn't what I went to school for, man. And you've helped me, you've helped our clients, just like everything that you've been saying, we've been putting it into practice, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So I'll check in with you in a few months. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, it'd be great to come on again and cover some other topics.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think if the listeners have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, have a bit of a chat, or just drop a message in the comments. If I'll look on YouTube and in Insta, you're going to have the video available on Instagram as well.
No,
or
just on YouTube? just audio. So I'm going to leave the live. So typically what we do is leave the live here and then publish the audio. I just trim out like the obvious stuff, like if there's a big lag or something. Other than that, on Carnivore Coaches Corner on the platform, and then usually make like a couple reels of, and then
I think any listeners have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, if you're following any of us, you'll hear about it.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot. That was great. Good discussion. I think we covered a few different things there.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna say good night, and you, sir, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll check in on a different day/evening.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Have a great night, Colt.
Thanks, brother. You too.
Okay. Bye.